Alright everybody, hello and welcome as always. I am Sean, this is In The Mixer, episode 146 of our Isle of Man series. It's Monday, happy weekend, hope you had a good weekend, whatever it is I'm supposed to say at the start of a new week. If you haven't gone back and checked out last week's episodes, in this week we're going to be really focusing in on our Europa League campaign. Of course, last season we made the semi-finals. This year we want to try and go one step further and at least make the final if we can. It does depend on the draw, it depends on how we get on. And I could be 100% jinxing it right now, and we're going to go out now in the first knockout round. But we do want to try and put in a concerted effort to do well in our Europa League campaign. And the knockout rounds start in today's episode. We're going to jump straight in and have a look at how we've gone over the last couple of games. So, as you guys can see, just above my head here, we're currently sitting in 7th spot. We've 26 games played, 15 wins, 3 draws, and 8 defeats. Plus 12 goal difference, which we are going to have to keep an eye on, and 48 points. We are level on points with Leicester in 6th position. However, they have a superior goal difference, plus 18, which is not unachievable that we might be able to hit that mark, get around 20 or something like that. But then 3 points ahead of us, Man City on 51 points. They have absolutely capitulated over the last couple of games. They were top of the division, I think, when we finished last week. But they've had, I think, 4 defeats in like their last 4-5 league games or something like that. They've dropped right back down. And then 6 points ahead of us, 54 points, Arsenal and Leeds in 3rd and 4th respectively. I don't think we'll catch Manchester United. The Manchester United side is phenomenal. And over the last 5 seasons, they have been absolutely fantastic, winning the division each time. And now they've gotten themselves back on top of the pile after a pretty poor start. I don't think they're going to take their foot off the pedal right up until the end of the season. So the best hope that we have is to try and first get above Leicester. 6 is where we finished last season. I would like to try and get 5th or 4th or 3rd if we can. Then we have to be really diligent about getting good results in the league. Now, because you guys won't see many of the results in the league, we've actually kind of got 2 little stints that are going to be key and critical to the season. We've got probably starting with this Everton game, which we'll play off screen in today's episode. That's a big one for us away from home. Everton are a good team. Even though they're only in 10th, they do have a very strong squad. We've got Watford. That's going to be big for us as well to try and get 3 points. And then we've got this really tough run with Man United in the FA Cup, then in the Premier Division, then Man City, then Chelsea, and then Southampton, who we know previously last season played Champions League football, so they have a good squad as well. And Tottenham, who are down in 11th, but still have beaten us a couple of times throughout the course of the save in the series. If we get through that spell, our run home isn't terrible because we're going to play Leeds, who are up in 3rd. If we beat them, we get 3 points back and could potentially look at leapfrogging them then. And then we've got Brighton, which is a winnable game. Bournemouth, a winnable game. Sheffield Wednesday down in bottom of the division. We should be winning that. And then we go into the final day of the season against Leicester, where it really could be kind of almost a cup final, where the winner actually finishes above the other. And maybe that will become huge for the top 4 placings. But really what that means is we have to get through this United, City and Chelsea period, picking up as many points as possible, which will be a challenge for us. Thankfully, the United and City games are at home, which is a different prospect to playing away. But we've got really like 2 key and critical stretches to get through. This really tough stretch with a lot of the big sides in the division, and then that kind of run home where we want to have as much momentum as humanly possible. We'll see how it goes. The wheels could come off and we could drop down as low as like 10th or 11th or something like that. We've had a good run, but because you guys probably won't see that many Premier Division fixtures this week and we're focusing more on the Europa League, it's probably best that we just run through that at a high level at the start of each episode. Now, of course, since Friday's episode, not yesterday's episode, we have played a fair chunk of football. We jumped through quite a fair bit as well. We played pretty much all of February. We had a great run throughout January. You can see just the 1 draw with Arsenal during that period. December wasn't great, but I think some of that was like fixture congestion and then also just general fatigue after what had been a pretty long year and a lot of injuries. A lot of players have played a lot of minutes this season, probably more so than really any other year that we've been in the Premier League, just because of the amount of injuries we've had and not being able to rotate and the challenges that come with that. So December wasn't great. You can kind of tell the way I record episodes is that I effectively do a month during that period, and I'll record the games for that month during that time as well. So I've already played the February games earlier today, but what you can kind of tell, and one of my biggest frustrations and criticisms at FM, is that session to session, these kind of individual months that you see here, they're always kind of up and down. Like randomly, we had a very good November. We were traveling quite nicely in the league. Yes, there were some warning signs with draws here and there, but then the wheels just came off in December. We stopped, restart again in January, and all of a sudden we're winning matches again. Yes, against like worse sides in the division. Newcastle, Plymouth, Aston Villa, they're not great. Arsenal, we only managed to draw. Rochdale and Burnley, sides we should be beating. But it's just weird that like you never go on a good run of form and then run into another team that's in a good run of form, and that's how you lose. It's like the game just automatically decides, oh, you've won a fair few, now you're not going to win very many at all. But, you know, that's fine. We'll continue working our way through that throughout time. And I'm hopeful that reloading the game now, going into these games against Sporting, we will carry in the form that we've had against Wolves and Norwich, not the form that we had against Liverpool, or not the form that we had in December. But I guess that's a challenge. That's one of the parts of the game. We'll have to go with it anyway. Which brings us to Sporting Lisbon. There are some big fixtures in the first knockout round. Atletico Madrid, we're going to have to keep an eye on. I think they're probably the biggest side left in it. Bayer Leverkusen are in there as well. They're a very good team. Lille's in there. AZ Alkmaar against Bayern is probably the biggest. Bayer Leverkusen, not Bayern Munich, is probably the biggest tie. Maybe some people would say ours is the closest tie. And then the second knockout round, all of the teams that finish top of their groups, they drop back in as well. So there's a big few teams that come into the competition at that stage also. As far as the squad's concerned, the only really knock that we've got to be wary of is Larry Ortiz. David Lind has had a knock as well. He's only scheduled to get around through 45 minutes. And you know what? Having seen that, and given that we're playing at home first, I'm probably going to do Gary Lester to start. And we'll bring Lind on maybe with 30 minutes remaining, working back into fitness. Ortiz isn't ready. He's still got another week to go. So I don't think we're going to risk him for this one. It does mean Paul Harold will likely start on that left-hand side, which he's still not super comfortable with. We do have Jimmy Winter as well, but I just don't think Jimmy Winter has played particularly well, whereas Paul Harold has pulled out some decent performances over the last few games, albeit in cup competitions. As far as form's concerned, the wheels have come off a bit for Pablo Rivera. He's still got 17 goals for this season. He is still far and away our leading scorer. Oh, and there's another thing that I forgot to mention. I probably should have mentioned this at the start because it's probably the biggest part of it. We have lost Neil Peacock, £100 million. They paid his release clause. Manchester City have picked him up. And then I don't think it's any coincidence that since he actually moved across, and he's made 6 appearances for them so far, they've lost quite a few games and have dropped down the division. I'm not saying we sent him across as a sleeper agent, but they lost against Leeds, they lost against Man United, they only drew with Wigan, drew with Arsenal, lost to Brighton, beat Sheffield Wednesday, but Sheffield Wednesday bottom of the league. It's not really a coincidence that the 6 games that he's been involved in, they haven't gotten any good results at all. And looking at his average rating, 6.5, even in the win against Sheffield Wednesday, 6.6, 6.8 against Arsenal, 6.7 against United, 6.5 against Leeds. He's not exactly had the best time since making the jump across the city either. Once they announced that they were going to pay his release clause, there was nothing we could do. He wasn't going to enter new contract negotiations. I kind of regret putting that release clause in there. We might try and not do that in future, and we might also try and take out any further percentages to other clubs as well. We have gone back into the market to try and replace him. Frank Richard joins from Bordeaux, another French international to join Arnaud Henry. And to be honest, he's not too bad. We did pay a fair bit of cash for him. We paid £35 million, which is effectively most of what we actually got back out of the Peacock sale by the time you paid on his sell-on fee percentage and then also the money that Chelsea were owed as part of the initial deal. 3-star current ability, 5-star potentially. He's an 18-year-old wonder kid. He has kind of adjusted pretty well. 4 appearances so far and a 7.03 match rating. He's pretty decent. He's got a goal and an assist to his name already, which is quite good. We'll continue working him on that right-hand side. Hopefully he'll develop a good partnership with Fontana on that right, and hopefully he will continue to settle quite comfortably in the run home for the rest of the year. Only on 30k a week, so we do have a fair bit that we can do to try and, expand that wage as he continues to improve and continues to grow. And if we can give him, as much game time as possible between now and the end of the season, maybe he'll get to 3.5 star. If he continues next season, maybe he gets up to 4. And then we haven't really lost anything when it comes to Neil Peacock. We've got a player coming in of the same quality. He's a star behind now, but these things happen. You're going to lose players at certain points, and then other players are going to come in. The other one we've got to keep an eye on is Arnaud Henry. You can see there are 11 clubs, some big teams as well. Atletico Madrid, Monaco, Barcelona are in there. Juventus is in there, Valencia and Nims, who are just seemingly linked with everybody. They must have a whole bunch of cash. His release clause is £97 million for clubs in the Champions League itself. No one's come in for that. A couple of teams have gotten close. Barcelona offered 70 million plus 20 in future fees, and I was able to reject it. But if they offer 97 million straight up, there's no way we're going to be able to keep a hold of him, which is a bit disappointing. But maybe if we get to the end of the season, maybe if we get Champions League qualification, I can offer him a new contract and try and get him to hang around. Finances still absolutely wrecked. You would have thought maybe they would spike a little bit. You can see there's a little bit of a jump here, about 20 million from the sale of Neil Peacock. We are working our way back to positive balance, and that is kind of the focus, not just for this season, but probably going into next season as well, given how kind of slowly that progression's been. Since we have started the season at negative 191 million, we have made 60 million pound back nearly. So that's decent. That's a good turnaround. And you can see our profit for the season is actually on its way up. It's just not on its way up by what we need it to be, which is really up around the 100 million pound mark. But, that's the challenge. I got us into this situation. I will have to drag us out, and we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Obviously, getting through the Europa League as well will help with a bit of extra cash from Match day revenue, you'd figure more sellouts that had come to the ground, the prize money that's on offer as well, not just for individual games, but also for getting through to additional rounds of the tournament itself. So that's why kind of these games, these early knockout stage games, are super, super important for us. More than enough talking from me. I've been going for what feels like an hour at this point. Let's jump in and have a look at the two lineups for the sporting game. Alright, so as you guys can see, we've gone with our 4-2-3-1. I don't know if you can see it. No, you can just see it. We're on our positive mentality because we're playing at home. We've got the ability then to like escalate to attacking if we need to. And then we also have the ability to drop off and go cautious if we get a decent goal lead. They are playing a very, very deep 4-2-4 or 4-4-2. Which makes me think these two deep line playmakers are probably going to look to get the ball forward as quickly as possible to these two forwards up top. Lagunas, for whatever reason, is wearing number 2. One of my pet peeves when a striker wears a low number. He's a number 10 by trade. He can play up front, which is how they're using him today. Looks decent, but nothing super spectacular. Carnero alongside him will keep an eye on. Again, another advanced playmaker that they're playing up front, which is kind of an interesting strategy. Maybe they're playing them a little bit deeper, or maybe they just don't have a talented striker. At the base of midfield, they got this Raphael guy, who's their captain. Again, solid, but not spectacular. 3-star current ability. Actually a centre-back by trade, but can also play as an advanced playmaker, apparently. They're using him deeper again. I guess as kind of like a regista or a deep line playmaker. They're doing some weird stuff with this lineup, let's put it that way. And I think they've got two very deep lines of 4 with the idea that we need to try and break them down. So if things aren't working for us, it's good that we have that attacking structure to go to. We might go to more a conventional vertical tiki-taka if we're struggling to like kind of get them to commit men further forward. We're going Mancini in goal. Mokhtar and Esteban as the defensive partnership. Esteban wears the armband today with Lind out of the side. Carlos Andre and Fontana as the fullbacks. Leicester and Henry at the base of midfield. Haji, who's had a very good first season in the Premier Division, at the number 10 role. Harold in on the left, as we spoke about. Richard in on the right, and Rivera up top. It feels weird not saying Autism Peacock on the wings, but you know, we want to try and grow our depth. We want to try and get a better overall squad. Passionately, we're going to say a great opportunity for the media and pundits to back you up, and I'm going to assertively tell the defence as well that I've got faith in them. If we get a clean sheet at home, like, we're going to be in a good position. And even though we are still travelling away to Sporting Lisbon, I think we can go to our cautious mentality, control a lot of the possession, and hopefully create some chances away from home. But we want to try and get off to a good start. As we've just spoken about, at length, anything can happen when you reload the game. I really want to try and make sure that we get a good result and be, you know, as attentive a manager as I can to try and push us through to a good performance. Carlos Andre's got the ball here. Now Henry works it across to Leicester, who has a bit of a pocket of space, finds Richard, pinballs around. Now out to Fontana. Can he get a good ball into the box? Cuts it back to Leicester at the edge of the area. Now Haji, back to Henry. I thought maybe the drive from distance there was coming. We found Richard though, and it wasn't a bad effort, just over the crossbar. Keeper was nowhere near it, had it been on target. First throw in here and first possession that we've seen for Sporting, but it's won back well by Fontana. Now Haji, what can he do in a wide area? He's got 2 on the left-hand side if he can find them. Works it way out now to Leicester. Harold with a good touch. Has Carlos Andre on the overlap. Finds him now. What can the wing-back do? Cuts it back to Leicester, edge of the area. Might go the drive himself. Instead he passes it back to Henry. Good little triangles here at the edge of the area. Just waiting for them to commit. Good reverse pass to Rivera, and it's a good strike. Huntelaar, the keeper for Sporting. Good save. Sends it out for the corner. It's going to be Haji to take. Goes direct in. It's headed away by Raphael. Only to Henry at the edge of the area. Now back to Leicester. Good possession work here. We're just trying to find little gaps, find little reverse passes. That lovely little ball in there from Henry to Rivera. That's what we need to be doing. Andre with the throw-in finds Leicester. Can we switch it out to this right-hand side and work a 2v1? Goes past a couple and then goes to drive himself from a bit of distance. Wasn't the worst effort that we've ever seen. But we are through 30 minutes. We're going to use Get Creative. We've had all of the highlights and pretty much all of the shots so far. But if we can get a goal before half-time, it'll really change the complexion of the match. 1 minute of additional time to be added on at half-time. And we've got one last highlight. Fontanas takes it forward to Richard. Now Haji out to Fontana again, who's been busy in this first half. Back to Leicester. What can we do towards the edge of the area? Finds Henry, who goes the drive himself. It's a wonderful goal from Arnaud Henry. With Peacock leaving, Arnaud Henry is pretty much our superstar now. Like, he's the best player by a long, long way. We need him to really do more of this sort of stuff, which is bail us out of jams and find those little moments to be the difference and break the deadlock. Gets it out under his left foot. Defender's right in front of him. Works it one side to the other and then smashes it into the top corner. Keeping to do nothing about that. And 1-0 up at half-time is perfect for us. They've had one shot, none on target, and 40% of the ball. And most importantly, we haven't seen any highlights for them. Assertively, I'm going to say, pleased with how things are going. I don't want to overcomplicate it. I don't want to tell everyone that we've got to guard against complacency because I think that will invite pressure. We're just going to stay on our positive mentality. as long as we can. Haji with a free kick from distance. Not a bad effort. Huntelaar, again, a good save in the Sporting goal. Custodians kept him in it a couple of times. This one's going to be Harold to take. Looks to wrap the left foot around it. Goes short to Richard. Can he find a square ball in? He tries to clear it, and it's closed down well by the defender. Kind of a waste of a corner. We might get rid of these short set pieces as we move towards the second half of the year. Leicester with the ball now. Looks to switch it out to Richard. He hasn't had a poor game, but we do want to try and see a bit more from him on this right-hand side. Backstick ball towards Harold, and he's clipped the crossbar, and it's back in, and then they clear it out for the corner. That was Harold's real opportunity, I think, to announce himself on the European stage. He's got the corner here. He's going to go short to Richard. Can we find a good ball into the box, boys? Towards Haji. They let it run. He's going to get the ball back again. Is that the end of the highlight? No, we reset through Mokhtar. And then the highlight comes to an end. All right, through the hour mark now. So we're going to hit pause. We're going to make these subs. Esteban's got a yellow card, which we have to be wary of. Rivera has struggled again. Bungo will come on for him. Harold hasn't had the greatest game either. Maybe we'll bring on Jimmy Winter and go to... Yeah, let's just leave him as a winger on support just to see how it goes. We've also got... We want to try and get David Lynn some time as well. But both Leicester and Henry are playing particularly well. So maybe we won't risk him for this match. And maybe we try and get him half an hour in the game in the middle at Everton. We're going to use our Get Creative shout as well. A second goal would be fantastic for us heading into the second leg. I'd take 1-0, but really, we want to try and press home our advantage as much as we can. A 1-goal lead to be defending away from home isn't the easiest in the world. 10 minutes remaining. I've hit pause again. Let's mix it up. Let's go to counter just for the last 10 minutes. And let's make that last sub. You can see Leicester's dropped down to 69% condition. And while that is nice, we are going to try and get David Lind out there. Want to get him back into form and fitness as soon as we can. We're going to also use a demand more shout with about 10 minutes remaining. Be good to get some icing on the cake. Be good to get a cherry on top of the sundae, which would be a second goal, but 4 minutes of additional time to be added on. And the second half hasn't had any highlights really to speak of. 19 shots, 9 on target, 61% possession for Isle of Man, and that Arnaud Henry screamer gets us a 1-goal lead going into the second leg. 1 shot, 9 on target, 39% for Sporting. I think that was very much in like a damage limitation type structure. Assertively, we're going to say good win, boys. Well done. We don't have to panic too much. It gives us something to work with going into the away leg. And we do know that cautious mentality, it does keep a lot of the ball for us as well. So I'm sure we will get chances, albeit away from home. Looking at the other results, Bayer Leverkusen thumped AZ Alkmaar away from home 2-0. You'd expect them to get through on the back of that, as with Benfica beating Dynamo Kiev 4-0. Copenhagen beat Salzburg, which is a nice, interesting one. Lille and Pacos Ferreira, a 0-0 draw. Galatasaray beat Panathinaikos. Heerenveen beat Anderlecht, and Atletico Madrid away from home beat Slavia Prague, who went down to 10 late on. Arnaud Henry gets the Man of the Match award. We're going to passionately tell him he was fantastic for us because we need him to hit some decent form. Our ex-coach, Jamie Vardy, Leicester City manager now, was watching Esteban and Arnaud Henry, as was Monaco boss Jean-Michel Perez. So Esteban, I think, has a release clause of about £80 million. Arnaud Henry, £97 million. Maybe if we don't get Champions League football this season, maybe we try and cash in on those release clauses and try and maybe bring in some 3-star, 5-star potential players to try and build out the squad a little bit. It would help the finances, but ideally we want to try and keep a hold of our best players where we can. Now, we do have this game against Everton in the middle of the week, so we're going to use a rest day, and I'm going to play that game off screen because we don't want to try and do too much. It is away from home, so we might actually also set to go to our cautious mentality from the off, and that's kind of a practice run, a dry run for using that cautious mentality away from home at Sporting Stadium. Magic of editing, though, we're going to jump forward to the game against Sporting Lisbon now. Alright, coming back a little bit earlier than what we expected, because probably the worst scenario that could have happened against Everton has taken place. Our new signing, Frank Richards, who you only just briefly saw for a couple of minutes in that last game, has broken his ankle. So we're going to send him to the specialist. He's out for 3 months. Assertively, don't worry about your injury. And we don't really have... That pretty much counts him out for the rest of the season, to be honest. Like, it's the end of February now, so he's probably not going to get back until the end of May at earliest. So maybe he makes it back to like a final, but Jesus, like, we're really going to struggle. Those wide areas, we just cannot seem to get players fit at the moment. We did rotate a little bit, which is good, and it does give us an opportunity. Let's clear out the entire team. Let's give everyone a bit of a rest, maybe just 2 days before the game against Sporting, and tactically we're set to our cautious mentality, which is good. It does mean we're going to have to try and get through the rest of the season with Jimmy Winter starting on the right-hand side, 2.5-star current ability, 3-star potential. He's been a great servant to the club, but like, look at his average ratings over the last few seasons. He's probably more a championship player than a Premier League one. And if he can get fit, Ortiz has got 5 to 10 days before he's ready to come back into full fitness. He's capable, but, hasn't really progressed this season the way we wanted him to. Now 21 years of age, I'd be hoping he'd be like 3-star, maybe 3.5 star at 21, given the amount of games he's played for us over the last few seasons. And looking at his last 2 years, he hasn't been over a 7, which is really what you want from a creative player. And then Harold as well, who's in his first year with us, also 2.5 star current ability, 19 years of age. Can't say he's been horrific. 6.84 for his first season in senior football isn't the worst in the world, but really, like, we're up against it in terms of our wide players, and they are such a key creative hub of what we try and do. Anyway, magic of editing. Let's jump forward, look at the lineups for the second leg against Sporting. Right, just like that, we're a couple of days further forward. Now, I thought maybe that 4-4-2, that very deep 4-4-2 they played in the first leg was maybe like their attempt at defending really well away from home, but it just looks like it's their default structure, which is really weird. They're playing pretty much the same lineup we looked at last time. Raphael moves to a defensive role this time, which I think means Alate comes into midfield. Again, he doesn't look anything super aggressive either. And he's a central midfielder that they're playing as a deep-lying playmaker, it looks like, on that left-hand side. He'll play alongside Gonzalez, who's a little bit better, 3-star current ability, 4.5 star potential, Argentine midfielder. They've got quite a few Argentines in their squad. Huntelaar on a yellow card ban. He was excellent in the first game, it must be said. 3.5 star current ability, 4-star potential, Chilean international, who looks to be a very, very tidy prospect. And it's still Lagunas and Canero up top, Iwono and Fernando Silva. We didn't see a whole lot of their team because they didn't really have many highlights in the first game. Heze, is he any good? The other central defender, Nicolas Heze, 19-year-old Argentine central defender, 2.5 star current ability, 4-star potential. They picked him up directly from River Plate, and he probably hasn't quite clicked on the way that they would have wanted him to. For 12.25 million, that's not the worst to be paying for an Argentine prospect. For us, it is effectively an unchanged lineup, just that one change, Winter on the right-hand side. Coming in now that Richard has a broken ankle, which is disappointing. Leicester still continues. Lind isn't quite ready to go. And we did rotate quite a bit in the last game. So like Mokhtar comes back in fully fit, hopefully, for this lineup. Haji comes back in. Rivera comes back in. Rivera was more of a kick up the arse, to be completely honest. Dropping him from Bangu. Like you can see, he's dropped off quite a bit in some of his different attributes that you can see here. He hasn't had quite the season he had last year. Still not bad, average ratings. But really, our leading striker, the guy we needed to put in the back of the net, 17 goals and 32 appearances, isn't really the kind of rate that we saw out of him last season, where he set such lofty starts. But 48 and 98 isn't terrible. If he gets a goal today, it will put us a little bit further in the competition itself. Passionately, we're going to say, great opportunity to show the media they've been right to back you up. It just consistently works, so I just consistently use it. I know it's not the most interesting thing in the world, but it does put us in good position. We're going to set up the Europa League fixtures here as well. And really, have we got a free kick from distance here? Is this for us or are we defending it? It looks like it's Aladi to take. This will make it interesting. Thankfully, keeper looked like he had it covered. Mancini's been quite good all season as well. Another player who I think we might struggle to keep hold of this off-season if our financial situation doesn't improve. Harold cuts it back to Henri, then Leicester. And Leicester with the strike from distance that time. Huntelaar did very well, saves and forces it over for the corner. Winter with the ball now, goes towards the middle. Rivera was there, it's headed away and Haji should reset. He's 2v1 in this wide area. He needs to try and find some support. And the highlight just comes to an end, so I'm not sure what he did with it. Through 30 minutes now, haven't had too many more highlights either. We're going to demand more with 10 minutes remaining. Really, that's just to try and give us some focus through to half time. If we get a goal, that's great, but what we want to try and avoid is conceding at any point. Henri, Leicester to Haji. It's a poor ball, and Alade's won it back. Haji does very well to make the tackle and recover possession. Sends it out left towards Harold. Back to Haji again. Now Henri, square ball to Leicester. Good passage of play here, good possession. Ball out now to Winter, cuts it back to Haji. Now Winter, what can he do? Wide area. Can he try and beat the man and get a ball into the box? Goes back stick towards Harold, and Gamerish, I think, might have pushed Harold. They're going to go and have a look at it at VAR, and we've gotten a penalty here. It's going to be Rivera with the chance to find the finish. He's okay from penalties. He probably will miss, though, this, because we're recording. No, thankfully goes straight down the middle, and the keeper does him a favour by getting out of the way. That is his 18th of the year. And it puts him on track for a goal every 2 games, as far as his overall appearances are concerned. But when you consider that he scored like 37 goals last season in his first year with the club, it's not the greatest second season for him. And at half-time, we're a goal up, 2-0 up on aggregate, and it's an away goal as well, which makes it very, very important. Sporting effectively have to score 3 now to try and get beyond us. 4 shots, 1 on target, 39% possession for Sporting. 5 shots, 4 on target, 61% for us. We don't really need to panic. We just need to go out and do the exact same thing in the second half. Maybe not win a penalty, but, just keep the game neutral, stop them from having any real highlights, keep on top of them as much as possible. In other results, Atletico Madrid winning, Bayer Leverkusen winning, Heerenveen winning in their second leg. That one might make it a bit interesting. Esteban's lost possession on halfway to Canero. First real highlight we've seen for Lisbon in the tie at all. And the drive from the wide area, Mancini equal to it, saves and holds. 3 the hour mark now, so let's hit pause. Let's have a look at how we're travelling. Okay, so average rating wise, Harold isn't playing particularly well, but we might leave him out there. We'll just let the wingers get through it. Winter's not playing easy either, and that's pretty much the scenario that we're in. Our 2 wide positions have gone from being effectively one of our strongest areas of the pitch with Neil Peacock out there to one of our weakest with that additional injury to Frank Richard. Let's just work this on being something towards development. So let's give Henri a spell, which is risky, but, we've got a lot of football coming up. Let's bring on David Lind for the last half an hour, and then let's also... Carlos Andre's playing pretty well, so maybe I can play Medjidou on the left wing a little bit further forward. Let's go with that. Just get some fresh legs out on that left-hand side. Even that would probably help a little bit. Just something new, something fresh for the fullback to try and deal with. And we're going to use our Get Creative shout as well. Old Faithful, after an hour, usually gets the job done. Not the 2 most interesting fixtures, 2 1-0 wins in an episode, but 2 very big ones to try and get us through to the next round. And we're already up to the 80th minute mark, so let's make that last sub. Winter hasn't played particularly well. Bring on Mbungu. He can do a job on the right wing. Again, he's not super comfortable, and I don't think I've ever seen him assist or score a goal, but... they've got a corner here as well. Mokhtar with a good header away. Alade puts it back out to Guimaraes and backstick ball towards Bernardo Ribeiro. They've pulled one back. His 15th goal of the season. And it's going to set up an interesting 10 minutes. They do need to get 2 more goals. Even if they score again and we lose this fixture, we've got an away goal. So we should go through 2-2 on aggregate, but with 1 additional away goal. I can't see them in 10 minutes after not doing anything for the entirety of the tie so far, able to slam 2 goals past us. And we're into the last 4 minutes of additional time now. We've got to throw in left-hand side. Carlos Andre finds Haji, back to Medjidou, ball to Rivera. It's pinballing around. He gets a strike away eventually. It'd be nice to win this one outright instead of a draw in the second leg, but I guess that's European football. Sometimes you've really got to try and prioritise keeping clean sheets and stuff like that. Referee calls full time, 10 shots, 4 on target, 36% possession for Sporting Lisbon. 1 real highlight and 1 real goal, which is just the way Football Manager goes sometimes. 17 shots, 5 on target, 64% possession for Isle of Man. Passionately, we're going to say, well done, lads. That was a good win for us, and everyone's responded positively, which is good. And then we also, as we go through and have a look at the other legs, Heerenveen go through, Atletico Madrid go through, Bayer Leverkusen go through, Salzburg overcome a 1-0 deficit in the second leg to win 3-0. Galatasaray beat Panathinaikos, Lille won 2-0 in their second leg, Pacos Ferreira go out, Benfica go through, and we go through as well. First leg triumph, Pelter pass, Gary Lester actually got the man of the match award. He's been very good this episode. We get 430k, which is great. We absolutely need that additional cash, and passionately we're going to tell Leicester that he was fantastic for us. And then what we also have is the draw for the next stage of the knockout round, which we're going to jump forward to now. All right, we're a little bit further forward. So we've got Europa League second knockout round draw. There's some big teams in these buckets. Tottenham come back into it. Milan, Juventus, Borussia Dortmund. Monaco's in there as well. Espanyol, who had a very good group stage campaign, plus all the sides that just made it through the first knockout round. We're going to hit automatic draw. And if we could get a fortunate draw, that would be great. I know we've got to try and play pretty much all the teams at any point. But if we could try and get a fortunate draw and get a decent little run through to the quarterfinals, that would be fantastic for us. Real Hispalis, which I think is Real Betis, Lille are going to get Zebra. There's some big teams back in the hat, but we've managed to avoid a few of them. And we've drawn home tie against Red Bull Leipzig, which, of course, it's Red Bull Leipzig. We've played them about 15 times, it feels like, in this competition in the last 2 seasons. They were in our group. They did knock us out in the semi-finals last year. So it's going to be another opportunity to try and go and get revenge. I already did that thumbnail last week about revenge. We're going to have to pull it out again. It means our game against Man City's rearranged. So what does that do to our schedule? All right, so it does mean that we've got 2 games off screen, Watford and United in the FA Cup. We'll probably rotate for this FA Cup match. And then we've got Red Bull Leipzig, Man United in the Premier Division, and Leipzig away from home, and then Chelsea in the Premier Division, then Man City, Southampton, and Tottenham. So that stretch of games is just absolutely brutal. But we know we can beat Leipzig. We've beaten them before. If we go back to the group stage, we drew with them 1-1 away from home, and we beat them 2-1 at home. So we know we can get good results against them, even though they did knock us out of the competition last season and then lost in the final to Liverpool. Of the other fixtures, Atletico Madrid, Tottenham is huge. Bayer Leverkusen, Monaco is huge. You could say Zebra, Lille is probably big, but I would expect Juventus to get through. if I was going to pick, if you're going to put a multi-bet on it, not that any bookmaker will take it, I think maybe Tottenham will get through against Atletico. They just have a habit of getting through these games, even though they finish 10th in the division every year. Bayer Leverkusen Monaco is a straight up coin flip. Who knows what that one would be? Salzburg and Espanyol. I think Espanyol are a bit stronger. Milan should beat Galatasaray. Juventus should beat Lille. Dortmund should beat Heerenveen, and Benfica should beat Real Betis, judging on the strength of their squads and their results over the last few seasons. But some big teams in the Europa League group stages, even at this late stage, in the knockout rounds of the Europa League, even at this late stage. And that will be the focus of tomorrow's episode. So we will probably play a couple of games off screen. We will come back and try and bring you as much of our Europa League campaign as humanly possible. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. That is the portion that I appreciate the most. If you guys have anything that you want to see in this content, anything that you want me to go and have a deeper look at, like set piece stuff, tactic stuff, scouting stuff, anything like that, drop it in the comment section below. So much of the content on this channel will be brought to you guys based on what you actually want to be seeing as we continue to release videos Monday through Friday all the way up to the release of Football Manager 21. But like I always say, more than anything, I just appreciate you guys watching. That's the part that means the most to me. As always, I've been Sean, and I'll see you all again in the mixer.